What's up, YouTube? JM Comics here, and I'm fully aware that it's February of 2022, but I'm still making a video where I rank all the movies I saw in 2021. It's just been a busy January and I hadn't had time to make it yet, but here are all the movies I've seen in 2021 that came out that year, and I'm gonna rank them on a tier list from bad movies to alright movies to good movies to great movies to best of the year movies. And best of the year movies doesn't necessarily mean they're great movies, like from an objective standpoint, but it means from my opinion, like in my opinion, from what I enjoy in movies, they were the best movies I saw this year. So take most of these opinions with a grain of salt because they're opinions. And before we start, remember to like, subscribe, and comment your favorite and least favorite movies from 2021 down below, as well as the movies you're looking forward to the most in 2022. And after I finish this tier list on the same video, I'm going to have my top 10 best movies ranked and then my top 5 worst movies ranked. So let's get into it. Okay, first up we have The Suicide Squad. And if you've kept up with my channel, you'll know I did a lot of content on this, like 2 videos, but still, that's more than I do for most movies. And I really, really like this movie, and I'd say it was my number one favorite movie of the entire year. It had so much good parts about it. There was not one bad part about it that really stuck out to me. Even the Harley Quinn montage in the middle, I didn't mind it as much as most people. And I loved every character in it. The only character I didn't like was Peacemaker, but now that he has his own show and he's getting more character development, they fixed that problem. So, looking at it from my point of view, there's nothing really wrong with The Suicide Squad. It's a perfect movie for me. So, it's definitely my number one best of the year. And also, I'm not ranking from across, like, the order across doesn't matter that much right now, but when I do the ranking, like the top 10, you'll know which are ahead of which. But right now, it's just these 5 categories. It doesn't matter which is first and which is last in these categories. Okay, next we have Clifford the Big Red Dog. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it was actually a pretty good, possibly great movie. Considering that it's an adaptation of a kid's cartoon, and most of these adaptations end up not being that well, this movie was actually enjoyable, and I'm someone who used to like the Clifford the Big Red Dog cartoon when I was a kid. So, with all that considered, I think it was a pretty good movie considering the low expectations and the terrible track record of movies of this type. I'll keep it in good movies for now, but if there's not enough stuff in great movies, I'll move it up. Next, we have Venom Let There Be Carnage, and this is one of my more controversial opinions, but I'd say it's best of the year. I really like this movie. I liked it better than the first movie by like a substantial margin. I still like the first movie, and I liked it better than a lot of the comic book things we got this year, better than all the Disney Plus shows, and better than a few of these movies we're gonna get to soon. It was only really topped by the Suicide Squad and another Spider-Man movie we're gonna get to, if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I really liked this movie. The action was great. It was the most fast-paced movie I've seen this year, and there wasn't any real slow parts, so I'm gonna give it best of the year. Okay, next we have Eternals, and need I say more? Terrible movie, bad movie, horrible. The plot is bafflingly stupid. The characters are so obnoxious. There's not one likable character. The only one who was Kingo, I think that's his name, played by Numal. I forgot his name. I don't care about this movie enough, but the only character who was likable, even him, he left before the final battle. This movie is terrible. It's poorly written. I can't believe that Chloe Zhao, who directed an Oscar Best Picture winning movie, directed this piece of trash. So I really hope it's not at the Oscars because it's terrible, and it probably won't be because it's a superhero movie. But it's trash. If it's on Disney Plus, go watch it if you want to torture yourself, or just don't watch it and spare yourself the 3 hours worth of time. Oh, okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, next we have Wish Dragon. And similar to Clifford the Big Red Dog, this really blew my expectations away, considering it's a Netflix animated movie, and most of them tend to be not that good. So I'd probably put it in great because at first I thought it was gonna be an Aladdin ripoff, which Aladdin's a classic, obviously, but it wasn't as much of a ripoff as I thought it would be, and it has its own fresh ideas. And the dragon himself is nothing like the genie from Aladdin, so they definitely change it up, and I still really, really like this movie, even if it's not the most original. Next, we have 2 Christmas movies. I'm going to put them together in the good category. We have A Boy Called Christmas from Netflix and 8-Bit Christmas from HBO Max. 2 streaming Christmas movies. And I really enjoyed both about equally. They're just Christmas movies. I can't put them that much higher because they're not elf level Christmas movies. But they're still good Christmas movies. I'll probably rewatch next year or in 2 years. A Boy Called Christmas is like Santa Claus's origin story. The beginning's really slow and I didn't like it, but after a while it gets good. 8-Bit Christmas, I'm a gamer. It's who I am, okay? And it's about this guy trying to get a Nintendo, and I really liked it because the ending was heartbreaking, and there were so many twists considering what the movie was proposing. So I'd go watch both of these movies next Christmas because they're solid, good Christmas movies. They're not elf level, like I said, but they're good. Next is Jungle Cruise. I'm gonna also put in good movies. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was bad. I don't think it was amazing, but I think it was pretty good. I enjoyed it a lot. I think it's not my favorite rock movie from this year, as we're about to see, but it was still a good, solid adventure movie. It was a little bit derivative of Pirates of the Caribbean because they're both based on a ride and they both involve elemental villains or whatever, but I still liked it, so it's good. Next is Red Notice, The Rock's other movie this year from Netflix, and I'd say it was a great movie. Bear with me here. I know it's one of those lazier movies with a star-studded cast, and it's kind of like generic spy thriller concept, but I really liked what they did with it. The twists at the end were really funny. The whole movie itself was really funny. Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson have such a good chemistry together, like almost rivaling Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson's chemistry. And Gal Gadot makes a great villain, especially compared to her always being portrayed as a hero. So I'd go watch this movie. It's not bad, and they're making a second one. So I'd say it's great. I enjoyed it. One of my more controversial opinions, I didn't like Free Guy, okay? I'd say it was a bad movie. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for everyone who liked it, but I feel like they overhyped it a little bit too much. Ryan Reynolds and everyone working on it, Taika Waititi and stuff, they were acting like this was gonna be the next, I don't know, Wreck-It Ralph or something. They were making it like a big deal. And considering how much they overhyped it, I was really excited for it, and then I got my expectations disappointed. So I feel like if I went into it with no expectations, I would have liked it way more. But considering how overhyped it was, the story just didn't click for me, and the villain himself was just really weird, and I don't know, I just couldn't enjoy it. So I'll leave it in bad movies, and the jokes were very cringy in a lot of ways. So yeah, and it's just weird to see Ryan Reynolds play, I don't know, some generic civilian guy. He's more of the Deadpool type guy in my eyes. He makes good insults, good, you know what I'm saying? He can't play the type of character he was trying to play here. So, well, I just can't see him like that. So I'll just leave it there. Next we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I'd say great movie. It wasn't the best comic book movie from this year, but I think it had like the best villain from this year. Yeah, the most well-developed villain from this year. And Shang-Chi is a great protagonist. Simu Liu did a really great job considering it's one of his, I think one of his first movie roles. Like he wasn't really famous before this, and I really liked the movie as a whole. So, great movie. It's a great movie. Go watch it on Disney Plus. Next week in Aquafina. Normally Aquafina is so obnoxious to me. We're about to get into another role where Aquafina is obnoxious, but on this movie Aquafina was just okay. I didn't feel as insulted by Aquafina's presence as I normally do in the movie she's in. So her jokes weren't bad on this movie. Next we have Luca from Disney Pixar, and it's been a while since I've seen this movie. I'm just gonna put it in great movies because yeah, I really liked it. I remember it being really like entertaining and a really solid movie. Nothing about it sticks out to me right now looking back on it, but I still really liked it a lot, and I might put it down to good movies in a while. Just give me some time to think about it because, like I said, I only saw it once this year, and it was when it came out, so it's been a while. Okay, here we have the movie I was talking about when I said Aquafina can be annoying. Ryan the Last Dragon. I'm gonna put it in bad movies. I might move it up to all right movies because I there's nothing in all right movies right now. But I didn't exactly hate it. I just didn't like it. Like the story, the premise of the story was really great. I really liked the idea. It sort of was very reminiscent of Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, amazing series. But the execution wasn't exactly the greatest. I feel like I didn't have enough time to go to each of the areas and develop each of the areas properly. I still like the characters we were introduced to, but a lot of the humor was very basic fart poop humor and stuff. And like it wasn't even done originally. It was just like, oh, there's a baby who can fight. Wow, it's like the boss baby. Like you know what I'm saying? It wasn't necessarily original. It didn't have enough time to develop its characters. Need I talk about the dragon? Okay, Aquafina plays the dragon in this movie, the titular dragon, and oh my gosh, is she so annoying in this role. I just can't. Bad movies, okay? It's a bad movie. I might move it to alright because I at least enjoyed the main character's personal character arc and the villain. But Aquafina was terrible in this movie. Okay, bad movie. Next we have Tick Tick Boom, and I'm gonna put it in best of the year, okay? I'm a musical sucker. I was never a theater kid throughout my entire life. I was in like two plays ever. But I really enjoy watching theater, watching musicals and stuff like that. And this was an adaptation of I forgot his name. It's like Jonathan. I'm sorry, I forgot his name, but Jonathan Larson. Yeah, it was an adaptation of Jonathan Larson's Tick Tick Boom, and Andrew Garfield played the main lead here, and Lin-Manuel Miranda wrote most of the songs, well, adapted them from Jonathan Larson, and it was just amazing. Okay, these are two very talented people working on this movie. The songs were great. I don't think they were Lin-Manuel Miranda's best songs, especially from this year, but they definitely stuck out to me. And they didn't stick out to me. They definitely resonated with me as someone who likes. I like trying to write stories. I like trying to create narratives, but I understand how difficult it is, and it just this movie encapsulates writer's block perfectly. So I'd say best of the year. Okay, next we have Peter Rabbit 2: The Runaway. My first alright movie because I wasn't crazy about it. I was just like, you know what, it's okay. I went to see it with my friends for one of their birthdays, and it's a solid movie. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's for a kids movie. It has a competent plot, but it's not the most entertaining. Me and my friends spent a good amount of time just talking to each other during the movie. It wasn't gripping. The first movie wasn't gripping, but yeah, considering where it came from, the first movie, it was an okay sequel. All right, okay, yeah. Watch it if you liked the first movie. If you didn't, just don't bother. Oh gosh, next we have Thunder Force. I didn't even finish this movie. Okay, this is a Netflix superhero movie starring Melissa McCarthy and Octavia Spencer, and it was kind of terrible. Okay, it was terrible. I couldn't even finish it. I think it took me like 20 minutes into the movie to just give up and turn it off. See, I didn't know if I should consider it, considering I didn't finish the movie, but it was so bad I couldn't finish it. So I'm just leaving it in bad movies. If you have seen the movie all the way through, I mean, from what I've heard, it's still bad. So it's a bad movie. Don't watch it on Netflix. Okay, just don't watch it. It's terrible. Next we have Ghostbusters Afterlife, and I surprised myself. I'm surprising myself and saying it was one of the best of the year. When I first saw the movie, I really liked it. But over time, thinking on it, I was like, you know what? The beginning was pretty slow, the middle was slow, and the teenagers in this movie, like Finn Wolfhard and his girlfriend, or what love interest, were very underdeveloped. But when you don't consider those factors, the rest of the movie is a blast. Okay, it's the best Ghostbusters movie since the first one, and the video game. If you've played Ghostbusters, the video game, that's a good sequel. But besides those two, this is the best sequel we're ever gonna get, or at least anytime soon, to the original Ghostbusters. It pays homage to everything. It has a completely different tone. It's not as silly and comedic as the other three movies. It's more of a somber and like reverent tone of the movies that have come before. So yeah, I really like this movie. Best of the year. My third favorite Ghostbusters movie, if you count the video game. If not, it's my second. Definitely better than the remake. It's a great movie. Go check it out as soon as you can, because it's even a tearjerker. Not gonna lie. No spoilers though. Next we have Disney's Encanto. And this one's a little bit confusing for me. I don't know if I should put it in great movies or best of the year. Because here's the thing. I think I was, like many other people, obsessed with this movie for a while. But at the same time, there were many aspects of it that bothered me. Like, I feel like many of the characters didn't get enough character development. They got way more character development than the characters in the Eternals. Like, I feel like these movies are so comparable to each other, except Encanto did everything way better. But at the same time, it's so entertaining. The songs are amazing. We Don't Talk About Bruno is the best Disney song since probably Let It Go. Since Let It no, since since You're Welcome from Moana. That's how good it is. One of the best Disney songs ever. We Don't Talk About Bruno. It's amazing. I'm gonna leave it in best of the year, but I can't guarantee it's gonna be in my top 10 ranking at the end of this video, because I do have my nitpicks of this movie. There are problems with it, and the stakes were very low considering they never really left the house throughout the entire plot until the end, and even then, I'm not gonna spoil it, okay? But it all takes place within a house basically. But it's a good movie. Best of the it's yeah, I'd say best of the year. Next we have The Mitchells versus the Machines, another movie, another animated movie everyone considers for best of the year. Personally, I'm just gonna leave it in good movies. I don't know. I just didn't fall for it as much as most people. I really love the animation though, and the characters were really funny. Like the main character Katie and her dad. I forgot his name. Cause yeah, I saw this one a long time ago as well, just like Luca. I might move. I don't know if it's better than Luca. I'll just leave Luca up there because I remember having more like emotions watching Luca. But I really liked The Mitchells vs. the Machines. It was the funniest animated movie of this year. And like I said, the animation was great. It makes me really hyped for Spider-Verse 2 coming out next year. But overall, it didn't hit for me as much as it hit for most people. So I'm leaving good movies. Okay, the controversy. The controversy is here. Okay, here we have Dune. Okay, and I know everyone loves Dune. Everyone's like, Dune is the best movie since I don't know, since Star Wars: A New Hope. No, okay, no. I couldn't fall for Dune as much as most people. I'll even all right movies. Okay, crucify me. Okay, get. I don't care. Dune was so slow. It was so monotonous for a while. Like it wasn't monotonous. Okay, I'll give it this. It was interesting, but it was very slow paced, and it was clearly setting up the future. So until that second part comes out, it's an all right movie. Okay, when the sequel comes out and it like blows this one out of the water, then we can talk about this movie. But right now, I'm just gonna leave it in all right movies. I'm not gonna judge a movie based on its promises. I'm gonna judge a movie based on what it gave us, and there was no Zendaya in this movie until the end. So, all right movies. Speaking of Zendaya, Spider Man, No Way Home, easily best of the year. Like, should I even say something about this movie? Go check out my review on the channel. But wow, this movie lived up to all my expectations. I think it was my favorite big crossover in the Marvel Universe. Well, it's like tied with Infinity War. I liked it better than Endgame. It was so great. All the cameos were amazing. All the callbacks to old movies were just perfectly executed. Best of the year. I didn't have any problems with this movie. Except for the Doctor Strange stuff, a little bit. But you can just check my review out and see that. But 10 out of 10, best of the year, definitely. Next we have Cruella. And, uh, I'll leave it in great movies. I really like this movie. Similar to Maleficent, it was one of those remakes that really didn't try to remake the original. It tried to do something different. And I think that's why this movie worked. And something like the Lion King remake didn't work. Because this movie didn't try to rehash something we've seen before. It tried to do something different. And like stuff like Mulan, the Mulan remake, they also tried to do something different. But I think Cruella and Maleficent did it best, and the Jungle Book movie, but that's not relevant to this conversation. They did it best because they tried to focus on a different character than the character we already focused on in the animated movie. And the callbacks to the actual animated 101 Dalmatians are really well done in my opinion, I'd say. Especially the after credit scenes, which I missed the first time around. Stay after the credits for the after credit scenes in this movie. It's a great movie, okay? Go watch it. Emma Stone's a great actress. She's really good in this movie. Yeah. Next is The Tomorrow War, and oh my gosh, the definition of an alright movie, The Tomorrow War, okay? This movie was kind of boring. I'm not gonna lie here. I love Chris Pratt. I'm one of his. I wouldn't say I'm his biggest fan, okay? But I'm one of his, like, bigger fans. I like him. I like him in Star Wars. Not Star Wars. I like him in Guardians of the Galaxy. I like him in Jurassic World. I mean, I'm fine if I'm in a Lego movie. I think he's a great actor. But he couldn't save this movie, okay? This movie was terribly written. It was kind of boring. Like, I like J.K. Simmons in this movie. I like him in this movie. But the movie itself was just so, not that good. The concept was cool, though. I think the first 30 minutes were interesting, but after a while, once the actual fighting begins, this movie goes downhill all the way. And in the endings, I think it's better than the middle, but it's still, part of this bad movie. So, the beginning's good, the middle's terrible, and then the ending's okay. So it's just the definition of an alright movie. Chris Pratt did his best with this movie. But man, the writing was a little bit too lazy for me. Okay. Next we have Black Widow. And I'd say Black Widow and Shang-Chi were so similar this year. Like, I like both movies about equally. I probably like Shang-Chi a little bit more. But Black Widow, I really love the heart at the center of this movie. Where it's Black Widow and her sister. And as well as their parents, or adoptive parents. Trying to come back together. And that was, like, a little bit heartbreaking, especially when you thought one of them was gonna die. I won't spoil it. But Taskmaster was a pretty bad villain, okay? And the actual villain, that weird hormone-inducing, mind-controlling guy, he wasn't that good, okay? He was a weird old man. He was perverted. And Taskmaster was nothing like Taskmaster from the comics. It was a mindless drone, okay? And it was terrible. Taskmaster and the actual villain weren't great parts of this movie. But the heroes of this movie definitely carried it. I love Yelena and I love Red Guardian in this movie. They are hilarious. But I still think Shang-Chi did the average Marvel movie better this year than Black Widow did. But that being said, I still put them like together in great movies. Next we have Don't Look Up, and maybe this is controversial, maybe this isn't. I haven't seen any reviews of this movie, but I'm gonna put it in bad movies because this movie was so in your face about its message. Oh my gosh, people don't care about actual events. They only care about celebrity breakups. They only care about rumors and gossip. Look, in a way, that is very much true, okay, in modern society. But this movie does it in the most upfront, in your face way. Like, there's an asteroid coming to Earth. Nobody's listening to them. That's a stupid concept for a movie. especially a movie with so many star-studded actors. Timothy Chalamet is in it. Leonardo DiCaprio's a star of it. Jennifer Lawrence is a star in it. Oh my, this movie is terrible. Okay, Ariana Grande's in it. Like I don't even like Ariana Grande, so this is a bad movie. It's on Netflix right now, so if you're really curious, you can go watch it. But I wouldn't recommend it. It's better than the rest of the movies in this cat. I'd say it's not as bad as Fun and Force and Eternals, but it's still a bad movie. Okay, so I wouldn't recommend seeing it. Next we have Coming to America, or Coming to America #2, and I'm putting good movies. Okay, it definitely did not live up to the hype of the original. The original Coming to America is an amazing movie. Like I don't think there's a problem with that movie, but this movie has its own flaws a little bit. The comedy is still great Eddie Murphy comedy, especially like when his son is trying to go through the trials to become king. That is really funny for me. But the actual plot itself isn't as strong as the first movie. It's still entertaining. I still love the message at the heart of this story about picking your own destiny instead of what your parents thrust upon you or what people and society thrusts upon you. But it's not as good as the original. It's still a good movie. I definitely recommend it if you have HBO Max. I think it was no Amazon Prime Video. Whatever you watch it on, just if you have that, watch it. And if you don't have it, I wouldn't recommend going after it unless you were a really big fan of the original. Then I'd just watch it because it's a good follow up. It's just not an equal follow up. Okay, coming in our last three, we have Space Jam: A New Legacy. It's a bad movie. Okay, what did you expect? I didn't hate this movie as much as most people did. I mean, it was an innocent kids movie. I watched it with my little brother, and he's like 7 or 8, so he enjoyed it. I just was like, I don't know, a little turned off by the monetization in this movie. Most of it's just references to other things, and it reminds me of the Emoji Movie and Ralph Breaks the Internet, which I hated both of those movies, especially Ralph Breaks the Internet. And this movie is so similar to that, except it stars LeBron James, and he's a bad actor, so it's even worse. I don't know if there's anything I can say that hasn't already been said on the internet, so just go look up Space Jam: A New Legacy reviews. It's a bad movie. Uh, for little, I don't know if little kids like it. Like my little brother liked it. I don't know if little kids in general would like it, but as an adult, this does not hold up for me. Or as a teenager, this does not hold up for me at all. Okay, no. Next we have Vivo, and I don't want to be a pessimist, but it's another bad movie. I'd say every Lin Manuel Miranda movie for me is at least like a good movie, but this movie I just couldn't get behind it. The opening 30 minutes are actually really good. The premise is amazing considering like the tear jerking moments in the first 20 minutes of this movie. But the actual plot is kind of stupid, okay? The little monkey or whatever, little kinkajou, has an owner who plays music and then he dies in the first 30 minutes of the movie. I'm gonna spoil it because it's not a good movie. Because, yeah. So his owner dies in the first 30 minutes, so then he goes on an adventure to deliver his owner's song to this girl he used to like, who's now famous. So that as a premise is a good idea, but the way it plays out is so stupid. He meets this little girl who's that old man's niece, and that little girl is the most annoying movie character of this year. Worse than Ryan the Last Dragon. The dragon in Ryan and the Last Dragon is less annoying than the little girl, whatever her name is, Gabby or something, on Vivo. That's how bad the little girl is. And her song in this movie is probably the worst song Lin Manuel Miranda has ever been involved with. So yeah, this movie's trash. Do not watch this movie, okay? Like, no, I passionately hate this movie. Okay, fine. Coming into the last movie of this year, we have Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I'm gonna go for the controversial pick again. It was an alright movie. Hear me out on this, okay? The original Justice League wasn't a terrible movie in my opinion. I still enjoyed it. Like considering how bland it was, I was like, you know what? It's still something. It's better than the original Suicide Squad. But I didn't have that many problems with the original. Like I had problems, but I didn't have as much of a passionate hate for the original. So when this came out and I watched it, I was like, you know what? It's basically the same as the original, but a little bit better. And even then, it's still an alright movie in my opinion. And I don't know, if it was shorter, maybe I would have put it in good movies. But it was 4 hours long and basically the same movie, but with better character development. So I'm gonna leave in alright movies. And yeah, should I change anything or? Yeah, I think that's good. That's how I feel. Maybe Encanto would get moved down to great movies. I don't know, but Encanto is verging between great and best of the year. But besides that, those are my opinions on movies this year in this tier list form. Actually, wait. First, I didn't put TV shows on here, but here are the TV shows I've watched and where I put them. Cobra Kai, best of the year. Arcane, best of the year. Hawkeye and What If, good shows, good movies. Loki, great movies. And then WandaVision's alright, okay? Now, with all that considered, here are my top 10 movies of this year. Okay, with the official top 10, we have Encanto at number 10. Like I said, I really enjoyed this movie, but I had many problems with it. Like, there are many flaws in this movie, but I really enjoyed it a lot. The music was probably the best music of any movie this year. So, it was a solid, in the top 10, but not high in the top 10. And number 9, I have Wish Dragon. I know, why am I putting this before, before Encanto, but listen, hear me out here. I enjoyed more of this movie than I did Encanto. I think there were less problems with this movie than with Encanto. The only problem is the premise itself is a bit of a ripoff of Aladdin, but even then, it does enough to distinguish itself from Aladdin. So yeah, no, I wouldn't disrespect this movie. Number 9, okay. Number 8, we have Shang-Chi and Black Widow. Like I said, they're so similar in nature and form. I'm just gonna leave them together as one entry, number 8, okay. And I'd probably say Shang-Chi's a little bit better, but not better enough to the point where I'm gonna put it ahead of Black Widow. Number 7, I have Luca, and I know in the tier list I made it seem like I didn't like this movie, but I'm just very confused about how I feel about this movie. Like I said, I haven't seen it in a good amount of time, so it's just, yeah. I remember liking it a lot and possibly crying near the end, or at least feeling emotions near the end, so I really liked it. Number 6, I have Cruella, and I saw this one actually really recently. I didn't watch it when it first came out, I watched it recently, and I like I said, I like villain adaptations of Disney movies better than the remakes. Besides Jungle Book, it's the only really good remake. The rest of the remakes are kind of mid, and then the villain remakes are really good, and this is no exception. It's like, I think it's possibly better than Maleficent. I'm not 100% sure about that right now, but I really liked it. Emma Stone was a great actress in this movie, and it humanized a character who's often just a villain. Number 5, I have Tick Tick Boom, and like I said, Lin-Manuel Miranda, I love everything he does, and this is no exception. Andrew Garfield does a great job with this role, and it really captures the creative process and how stupid and difficult it can be to finally get somewhere. At number 4, I have Venom: Let There Be Carnage, and it's one of my, like, one of those movies that's just so fast in the action that there's not much of me to complain about. There's not much for me to complain about. I could complain that Carnage is a little bit underdeveloped, like the symbiote itself, but even in the comics, Carnage isn't a symbiote. Carnage is literally Cletus Cassidy's worst, his worst aspects turned into a symbiote. So there's not even a development for Carnage to have. So considering that, this movie is a great adaptation. It's a great movie. Okay, I know people wanted the Carnage storyline. I don't know what it's called. I don't know what it's called. Carnage Takeover or something like that. But I still liked what it gave us. Okay, and the after credit scene was dope. And number 3, I have Ghostbusters Afterlife, and like I said, best Ghostbusters movie sequel. Really good return. Really good subversion of expectations. Like, I expected another comedy, but the trailers didn't show that, and the movie did not deliver that. So good on it. Completely different tone for a franchise that was really needing a refresh. Number 2, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Surprised, I know. I really love this movie. Like most other people who've seen this movie, it's amazing. Like, all the callbacks and Easter eggs are great. I'm not gonna spoil it here, but like some character appearances are just amazing. And number 1 is probably no surprise if you paid attention when I was saying during the tier list, The Suicide Squad. My favorite movie of this year and my favorite DC movie since The Dark Knight, and Shazam. Like, Shazam was also good, but probably my favorite DC movie since The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises. Such a great movie. Okay, amazing. There's not one problem with it that I have. So I'll keep it as my number 1 movie of this year. I had the most fun of it. And now getting into the top 5 worst movies of this year, we have Thunder Force. I feel a little bit guilty putting it this low because I haven't actually watched it all the way through, but I just couldn't. Okay, it's trash. Okay, it's bad. Number 4, we have Free Guy. Like I said, a lot of people really like this movie, but I just couldn't get behind it. Even the performances, they were good performances, but this movie's just not good. Okay, in my opinion, it's too much like Ralph Breaks the Internet. Okay, it's too much like Ralph Breaks the Internet, and I really disliked a lot of the humor in this movie. I do like Laserbeam as a YouTuber, and he was in this movie. So for that reason alone, it's not like really much like farther low on the list. So Laserbeam saved this movie. At number 3, we have Space Jam: A New Legacy. Like I said, I mean, I don't know if it works for children, but for me as a teenager, it did not work at all. The cameos were just very forced. It was just too much. Okay, like Free Guy, a lot like Ralph Breaks the Internet. My second worst movie is Vivo, and I feel a little bit bad putting it this low, considering how much effort it must have taken to write all these songs for Lin-Manuel Miranda. But one of his worst songs ever is in this movie, and the movie as a whole has a really stupid, flimsy plot. So it's definitely at number two. And then my number one worst movie of this year is The Eternals. If a superhero movie is my number one best of this year, and a superhero movie is also my number one worst, Eternals is trash. Okay, like, don't watch this movie. Do not watch this movie. Even if you want to keep up with the entire Marvel universe, I wouldn't watch this movie because it's so bad. The twist at the end is terrible. The villain they chose, like, I'm not gonna spoil. I'll spoil it. The villain for this movie is terrible. I'm not gonna spoil it. Okay, fine. Just the hero turning into the villain is a terrible idea. This is a terrible movie. Do not watch this movie. It's so inconsistent. It's bad. Okay. And with that being said, this is my 2021 year in review, and let's hope to a better 2022, and that the channel can grow and get better this year. Thank you guys who have watched me ever since the beginning of this year for sticking around this long. If you have, and if you haven't, like, subscribe, and stay up to date for more superhero and Nintendo and content about movies and video games. JM Comics out.